Thanks for joining us today on Polk Salad.
We've started the season and had two great shows.
Great idea. That's smart.
And we've just settled in quite nicely.
It's March. We have two super guests for you today. In our State of the Cities recently, our two mayors gave us what they saw as the future for 2019. We're going to follow up with them. You're going to enjoy this one. We're here with John McArdle, Mayor of Independence, and our first and special guest. Thanks for coming on, John.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
I'm so glad you came. This is going to be a great day. So we've got a lot of compare and contrast, between the two cities. One of the things being longevity. How long have you been mayor?
Well, I was lucky enough to be elected in 1998, and so I've completed 20 years of service, and looking forward to what's coming up in the next couple of years.
Wow, 20 years. I bet you've seen a lot of changes.
There have been a lot of changes both in our community, over in Monmouth, and in our whole state. It's been an exciting time for our community of where we were and where we're going, and I'm so excited about the future.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you have that vision. So now tell me, you had, do you remember what the population was 20 years ago? I'm sure it's grown.
Yeah, we're almost double now.
Almost double.
And it was upper 5,000s or maybe even 6, and we're about 10,000 people now.
Gee, okay. And as far as growth goes, I've seen businesses come in and other than people, lots of students and.
Well, we have folks from all over. We have new businesses. We have, as you know, a bunch of construction going on with the brand new hotel under construction, and that should open in May or June of this year.
Okay.
And then there'll be some apartments going in right next to it, and there's housing going in, and then Osprey Point is right behind Brew is scheduled to start building a little bit later in the spring, and then there's construction going on in the old City Hall. There's a brewery going in there.
Yeah, that's looking great.
Yes, and we're very hopeful that the Independence Station, the building that's been undone forever, Chuck Side says they are very hopeful of moving that forward this year. So there's lots of construction.
Good.
There's lots of real positive business environment, and with Jubilee just opening, so you can have lots of delectable desserts, and then with Valkyrie across the street and of course you have to stop in and go down to Melting Pot and get your dose of chocolate.
Yeah.
Or you can have ice cream, or you can. Excuse me, I get kind of
just
excited.
Keeps going on.
It
Are
is.
we hungry yet? Is it lunch yet? Yeah, I know. You talked me into, and not that I needed much arm twisting, but I did get to go to Jubilee, and I have been to Melting Pot, so I have gotten some sugar fix.
Eat your way to happiness.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So was that your intention all along? When you took this job 20 years ago, did you see a future of growth, or what was in your mind when you took this job?
Well, being mayor of a community is really a thrilling opportunity, and I'm a volunteer just like all of our commission members and council members. So we're all volunteers, and I've had the pleasure of traveling extensively through my athletic life around the world and seeing what's possible, and then working with the community, because we've done a lot of community planning, like the 2020 plan that we finished several years early. We had over 1,000 people participate in that. So part of it is not my vision, it's a community vision, but we want to be a full service community that's warm, that's inviting, that is a great place for business to be, and we've tried to put together the bones that allow investment by the private sector. Having things like MyNet is really a huge asset to the community, and we've become an example for other cities around the state because of the successes that we've had. We've won some awards. I'm very proud of that. So the idea was to make this a wonderful place to live, to raise a family, to raise your kids, and It is. Independence is the place to be.
So now tell me, when you came to Independence, what year was that? Do you remember?
Well, I was working here at Western Oregon University in 1990, and Patty and I got married in '92, and moved here to Independence, and became actively involved in everything that's going on in the community, and that's part of being in a small town. You get to be involved and have an impact, whether it's coaching or serving on committees or being with the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club. My wife still she's coaching over at Central High School. She's involved with that and the Interact Club and the Rotary Club, and and you've had her on here working
or the food pantry, Ella Curran.
The food bank, and all those folks are volunteers, and that's what's so exciting in this community. There's so much positive energy of good things going on, and I think that's what I'm most proud of, is the positive energy and attitude of we're moving forward, let's get after it.
Yeah, good. That's the right attitude. So when you moved here and you got involved, which is awesome, you were involved in things other than city. So you said Rotary, were you in?
Well, I've worked, when I worked here, I was in a Rotary Club. I'm a past president of the local Chamber of Commerce. And
so Chamber, Rotary Chamber.
Oh, yes, and there's lots of things, the YMCA and coaching, just like so many parents have done here in town. And 4th of July, there's no better place to be on the 4th of July than Independence in Monmouth. It is.
I agree.
And people from all over the country come, and we have 100 and some people sitting in our yard. And folks, we had an exchange student from a few years ago. He came back just to be able to be here for the 4th of July, to see the parade, the fireworks, and everything like that. There's no place better to be than Independence in Monmouth for 4th of July.
I see. So because you've been so involved in so many volunteer aspects, it sounds like you have had a life of service. And I'm curious to know, where'd that come from? Your beginnings are, you were born in Germany, and
well, I was my mom and dad were dad was career military, and they couldn't have children of their own, so they stopped in. They had made arrangements and went to an orphanage and picked up a couple of children there. We like to say they were issued children, and grew up in Salem. And went to the University of Oregon and kicked around a little bit. But, I spent a lot of time as a kid at the YMCA and in Salem, and there were a lot of wonderful role models there that did that. I had an internship at the state capitol, so I got a chance to see wonderful people, both legislators and governors, and they're there for service. They're trying to make our community better, and that's. Isn't that an obligation that we all have to do in our own individual way, what we can? And some people are positioned in ways to be able to help, but as long as people are actively engaged in trying to make the part of the world that they can touch better, it's a better place, whether it's through schools, churches, civic organizations, or just being a decent human being. And that's what's so wonderful about our community, is that there are lots of opportunities for people to do things like that.
I think it helps the size of our communities are small enough where you can still say hi to the guy in the grocery store that you might not in Los Angeles.
Exactly. Scalability is so important. We're big enough to have horsepower, but we're small enough we can really get things done.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, as when I'm helping new mayors get started, I'm a past president of the Mayor's Association, and we talk about how going to the grocery store can take 45 minutes, even if you're only going for milk, because you're visiting with folks, about stuff.
Yeah.
And but that's what's so nice about, the Greeks talked about a certain size of cities, because you want to be big enough to have the amenities, but small enough because people don't want to be a number.
Yeah.
It's about being a real person
Yeah.
and knowing folks, and that's what's so fun. You know, we have a high school we share.
Yeah.
You know, so that's
Yeah.
a focus there, and there's wonderful places, and you'll bump into everybody, whether it's out for a drink, out for pizza, out for ice
There
cream
we
or
go for
chocolate.
food
There we go.
again.
Well, food is a great social lubricant.
It is. It is. Well, if in 20 years, I'm thinking you probably have seen a lot. What do you see forward that you want to accomplish? I know that building.
Right.
That building, you want to see it in good use.
What I'm most proud of our community is, you know, the amenities are really wonderful. But what I'm most proud about is the attitude, the positive attitude of we can do things. We are responsible for our own future, and no one cares as much about our community as we do.
That's
And it's
right.
our responsibility to take the lead and invite others to join with us. And so what I want to see in the future is that spirit continue, because
Yeah.
that's where people are engaged, they're involved. We're just starting our 2040 plan, and it's not my plan, it's our plan, so that we can outline where our community should be 20 years from now. The work that was done in the last 20 came about through those kind of plans, and we can build upon that. Yeah, I have some things that are interesting. I love to see the expansion of the sports field so more kids can be involved. You know, I'd love to see some additional business, but the kinds of things that our community wants to go and move forward with, because that's our responsibility to do. And I'm really looking forward to having so many people involved in our plan for the next 20 years.
I'm seeing that your legacy will be developing other leaders then, in addition to physical, tangible things. You're a good mentor to others to help them get there.
Well, you're very kind, and we just are all trying to move things forward,
Yeah.
and it's people like you that help make that happen, because I see you in all sorts of different roles around the community, and you get involved and get down and, excuse the term, get dirty. You get dirty, and then you do things like this that help let other people know about the good things that are going on
Yeah.
in so many places.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you do, because you make our community a better place.
Well, I'm so glad that this Mutual Admiration Society, we got together. This is so fun, and we will promote the heck out of this program.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank
Alrighty.
you. And we'll be right back. And we're here with Cec Koontz. She's our new mayor of Monmouth, and she's been in office for coming up on 3 months.
2.
2 months. 2 months.
months,
Oh,
yeah.
welcome.
Thank
This
you,
isn't your
Susan.
first time. We've had you on the show before.
That's correct.
Yes.
In one of my other roles.
You wear so many hats, I get confused.
I do too, and that will be my challenge now, right? If I'm
Yeah.
sitting at a table, it's like,
Am I here as Western Oregon University, Monmouth Independence Community Foundation, Monmouth Independence Chamber of Commerce?
I actually gave up the
Oh, did
Chamber
you?
of Commerce.
Okay.
Right? That I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce board in my real job, the only one I get paid for out of all
So,
of these.
yes, tell us what that is.
I am the Director of Finance and Operations for the Central School District, which means they let me touch everything except educating kiddos. I'm in charge of the finance areas, budgeting, our transportation department, our food
wow.
service folks, facilities, maintenance. So I take care of just about anything that isn't.
Yeah,
as-
yeah.
I leave that to the experts, but right. So in that role, I did represent the district on the Chamber of Commerce
I
board,
see.
and I've turned that over to one of my very able colleagues so that I can do some more volunteer work for the city.
And the city appreciates your generosity. We also appreciate the generosity of the school district for letting you go. So many hours. Have you ever stopped to think how many hours you're spending on non-school district
Well,
endeavor?
I am very fortunate. Both my current boss, Superintendent Jennifer Cabista, and my previous boss, Buzz Brazeau, when he was the superintendent, believed that this really is our job.
It is.
That making Monmouth and Independence better communities, that being engaged, having people understand what we do at the school district is part of our job. And all of our top leadership actually gets very engaged in the communities.
And
So-
you're also teaching the students. You say you don't have much to do with education. The students are seeing you being, you're part of them in one respect, but you're part of the larger community in a leadership role. They're saying, I could do that.
Exactly. That's one of our jobs of educating students, right?
Yeah.
We believe in the whole child, the child who is socially, emotionally, academically, educationally, but also civically prepared for what happens when they leave our sweet little schools.
Little nest.
Their little nest. So, and we work hard at that. And you're right, being civically involved and letting them see and learn about leadership and bringing them into leadership roles is very important to us.
So you're acting as a mentor as well.
I hope so.
Maybe not intentionally, but it's happening nonetheless.
Yes, whenever there's a fundraiser
Yeah.
now, they can call and say, I got the mayor to sponsor me.
Oh,
So,
there you go.
There we go.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Well, you also, reflecting on what I had asked John, because you're so civic-minded, volunteering, and involved in so many things, you were a city councilor as well.
Right.
What do you attribute your volunteerism type of, where did that come from?
From my parents.
Yeah.
That was an expectation. I in fact, politically speaking, my mother was very involved in a couple of local campaigns around. I grew up in Salem, and so I was knocking on doors and actually silk screening campaign
I
signs
remember that.
in a garage when I was a kid to help out. And just volunteering in
Yeah.
a variety of ways just
Yeah.
became very, very important to me.
Just integral part of your
It is, and I
personality.
think a lot of that is I love connecting people with resources and volunteering, and especially in my current role where I can connect the university with things going on more in the city or going on more in the school district, and trying to find ways to create more rich partnerships is really, really my jam. And so
That was one of the things, one of your campaign, would I say promises, but one of the things you wanted to put out there was, let's see if we can get people to act together. And give me an example. You hit the ground running. So give me an example of what is happening right now.
Well, a few things. I think, when you mentioned that, I first got introduced to this community, I was probably considered an Independence person versus a Monmouth person. And my daughter went to Independence Elementary, and I volunteered a lot there. And I've just never understood this, right? This competition
Right.
when we have the best of both worlds here in Independence and Monmouth. So part of my thing has been about breaking up the competition and,
Yeah, good.
and reminding us all that we are two cities, one community. I worked on a group that adopted that as our name and our slogan. Because that's what we are. And working at the school district helps with that. But it's really about how do I find those partnerships? What are all the things that people are doing that we can do better together?
Right. So you're
And
the connector. You're
so-
the fixer.
I might be the fixer. I don't know. That's probably not a good thing. I think that, for example, there's some organizations that serve our communities, and
Right.
we have had a lot of partnership work with them over the years, but it just hasn't been as visible. Monmouth hasn't been as good about bragging about its accomplishments and working with those partners to find out more about what they can do for us. So
Good, good.
trying to get some of those things
A
going.
bright future ahead.
I'm hoping so. I think what my vision is that Monmouth really is a small town charm, but world-class opportunity. right? We are a university town. We have amazing talent here at this university, both in the leadership, in the academics here, and really with these students. I love coming on campus. I love being a part of the Board of Trustees and being more involved with the mission on a regular basis.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're just not, we're not
Out there.
leveraging that. I
You're
guess.
right. You're
So,
right. But I have no doubt, none at all, that's we're going to see Monmouth on the map.
Well,
As a result
I
of
hope
your
so.
efforts,
I
yeah.
hope so. And again, only because it lifts all boats, right?
So here's an example that I was aiming you towards.
Okay.
You had a meeting with Cec Koontz guys.
I did. The Cec Koontz is the sort of economic development arm of Marion Polk County, Marion Polk and Yamhill counties, actually. And I've been involved with them for years when I worked in Salem. And they have a mission to help support economic work in our county. But I found out they'd never really met with anyone at the university, for example, and they've never really explored what are some of those partnerships, what are some of those
There you go.
opportunities. And since I happen to know the president, a fine man, so I arranged a meeting with them and
Yeah.
with Rex, Dr. Fuller.
Yeah,
and just to explore.
How exciting.
What
See?
do we need to do? And really, these guys are out recruiting for world-class companies. As we know, we now have, some major distribution centers in
yeah.
Salem. Do those folks know that we have an amazing, comprehensive liberal arts public university here that has great potential for
See?
working with them? So that was a good meeting, just to kind of kick tires, get juices flowing.
Yeah.
There's a lot more like that
It's
out there.
exactly, and I see a bright future. I do. So one of the things I know that Independence and Monmouth their roots are different. So sometimes it's difficult to be together on all fronts.
Yep.
Independence was more agriculture and commercial, and we were more education, and
Right.
so we can still come together, but we can still keep our identities, right?
Yeah,
right.
and I think that's the thing. And I think whenever we say, well, gee, why are they two cities? And I know that. I hear that a lot because we do attract a lot of new folks to our community, and they don't know. We share so many services. We can really back each other up in a lot of ways. But there are differences, and that can be celebrated as well.
Yeah,
And
I love the collaboration, though. I see this unity and that's coming about at a very exciting time for our area.
It is. That's what I'm excited about as well. I went to high school in Salem at the same time Mayor McArdle did, and we had friends in common. So I have followed his career, and certainly since I've been involved in the community, gotten a chance to work with him closely, and I'm just really excited about
Good,
that.
good.
About more opportunities for us to be together to promote both cities, because there's so many exciting things going on, some of which wouldn't happen without what's going on in the other.
Right.
So,
So we have, speaking of what's going on in our community,
yes.
Carl's Jr. coming up soon.
Yes, it is.
Very soon, actually.
soon,
They're
eh?
working on it constantly. Any idea what that little partner will be?
They have not yet put in for development plans for the extra pad, the retail pad that would go there. And we're not quite able yet to talk about businesses going in the S-curves.
Okay,
But
that was going to be my next question, but
I was
bated breath.
hoping to be able to make some announcements, but they are still working on signing leases. Very excited, though, about those opportunities, something this community has looked forward to for a long time.
Yeah.
And
I was standing outside of Suzanne's door waiting as she was on the phone. So I did
I
a
know,
lot of
right?
la 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 la.
Yeah,
So
Suzanne Dufner, our community development director, has been amazing. She has a lot of experience and has been great working with these businesses to just solve problems. That's what that job is, right? Well, we don't understand this. Oh, let's work with that. Let's get around that. Let's solve this problem.
A good
She's
problem
great.
solver.
She
I
is.
agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
very excited.
Let's see. What else was I going to ask you about? Oh, okay. Are you born and raised in Salem?
I'm not. I was born in Idaho, but
There
I
we go.
always say that it is not my fault that my parents didn't move to Oregon until I was 4, because I am an Oregon girl.
Okay. And you have, one of your jobs you had was working in the hazelnut, not hazelnut.
Well, we grow filberts and we produce hazelnuts.
Oh.
In Oregon, yes.
Okay.
The growers call them filberts, but in order to sell them, the rest of the world doesn't know what they're
Okay.
called. So, yeah,
Okay.
I had a career in human resources in the food processing industry for about 16 years.
Yeah.
And so worked in Salem and then down in Albany for that.
So you not only are considered an Oregon girl, you know all about the major crop.
I do.
Yeah.
I can talk to you about a lot about the hazelnut industry and the food
good.
processing business.
Good. You have a daughter,
I
and
do. My daughter Jordan grew up here. Again, went all through school here. Married a local guy, and they live in Independence. So that's why I have to help promote independence.
you're sure.
They live over there with their my 2 grandbabies. One is a 150-pound Newfoundland, and the other is I think he's up to about 60 or 70 pounds now.
A Newfie
puppy.
also?
Yeah.
Oh.
Two Newfies.
Oh, okay.
So
They get a room of their own, don't they?
they
Or do they
pretty
sleep with
much
them?
take up a lot of room. As I point out, my daughter's 5'10", her husband's 6'2", and they need big dogs. So
that's right.
Yep, that's my little family.
Well, I'm so glad you came on today.
Yeah.
This is a good way to do an introduction, but we all know who you are now. And I may have mentioned this in our previous interview, how we met. You were shuttling Rex and me around the interview process, showing us neighborhoods and getting us to places. And we ended up moving across the street from you.
That's right.
And love it. It's a beautiful neighborhood, and thank you for being a good guide and a good friend.
And thank you for being a great neighbor and for getting so involved. I have to say, too, after years of knowing the leadership at this university, just never really feeling like they made themselves at home. The way that you and Rex have, and the value that you bring to our community. And as people say, when he's out there raking the leaves in your front yard, and people are
not
surprised.
cleaning the gutters anymore. We do now have a service. Oh, good. Yeah, he's not up there reaching into the gutters. So.
Well, as the vice chair of the board of trustees, I'm very happy to hear that we are
on a
keeping
liability
him off
issue.
a ladder.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's good.
Well, thanks again, Susan.
Thanks, Susan. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we'll be right back. Weren't they terrific guests today? I can't believe they do that work for free. That is hard work, but the results are fabulous. You can see our show on the YouTube Wimpeg channel, the MyNet channel 718, and of course, Polk Salad, our Facebook page, A Bounty of Conversation. Until I see you next month, I'll see you around town. Thank you for joining